So good evening to all the fourth semester students of Department of Business Administration, GC College. Today I have circulated a notes in your WhatsApp group which is related to the next part of your fourth unit, research methodology. So if you check it out in your WhatsApp group, you will find that this is basically a notes related to the different scaling techniques. So let me tell you that there are other scaling techniques also, but your syllabus only includes those scaling techniques which are most popularly known and the most widely used. I would also like to tell you that to have a clearer understanding of the different scaling techniques, it is imperative for the students to be well versed regarding the concept of measurement scale and the four types of measurement scale, which was basically our topic of discussion last day. And I have full faith upon the students of fourth semester that they have prepared and they are now fully acquainted with the concept of measurement scale and the four types of measurement scale. But still, let us recall what we have discussed last day. I told you that whenever a researcher observes a phenomena, he wants to convert his observation into numbers. Now, why conversion of observation into numbers is important? Because unless and until the observation is converted into numbers, the researcher cannot claim or the researcher cannot establish his observation, or the researcher's observation can easily be challenged. For example, a teacher has observed an intelligence of a student in the class. Now, his observation can only be narrated. Unless and until this can be verified with the help of a number, he cannot claim his observation. Or, say for example, some other teacher may have a different opinion regarding the same student. So, it is important that the researcher converts his observation into numbers. This conversion of observation into numbers is done through a rule which is called mapping rule. Now, there are different assumptions regarding the mapping rules. The different assumptions have given rise to four different scales. The first scale is referred to as nominal scale. Let me tell you that nominal scales are only used to classify or only used to group. For example, if a teacher has given the responsibility to the student to taste test 6 candy bars, this was basically an example that we have discussed last day. Now, at the first hand, if the student has classified the 6 candy bars on a chocolate, non-chocolate criteria, then this is called nominal scale. That means what the student has done, the student has grouped some some candies on a chocolate criteria, on a chocolate group, and the other candies on a non-chocolate group, based upon his judgment. So this is what we understand by nominal scale. Now, what an ordinal scale is? Ordinal scale will have order. Order means, they say for example, if the same if another student of the same class has ranked the 6 candy bars from a continuum of best to worst, then it is called ordinal scale. Ordinal scale means that you can clearly understand that in a continuum of best to worst, if it is like this, that first comes best, then comes better, then comes good, then you can understand that best in some attributes means superior to better. So it has an order. Best is superior, then comes better, then comes good. So it is ordered. Now, what is interval scale? I told you that in case of interval scale, the scale contains the attributes of nominal and ordinal, but it has one additional attribute. That means the interval scale will contain the attributes of classification and will contain the attributes of order. At the same time, in case of interval scale, the difference between the pairs of numbers are same. For example, the student has rated the 6 candy bars on a 7-point scale. That means that he has rated the 6 candy bars on a scale of 1 to 7, where he has assigned meaning to 1. Say for example, if someone rates a particular candy bar as 1, then it may mean that the candy bar is best. Whereas someone else, if rates another candy bar as 7, it would mean worst. So this is basically a meaning which is assigned by the researcher and conveyed to the respondents, from where the responses are being collected. Then comes ratio scales. Now, ratio scales is basically a scale where the numbers will have an absolute meaning. Now, what does absolute meaning mean? Absolute meaning means, say for example, a particular person may have a particular person has a height, has a weight, which is being measured through a measurement tool. Now, this height and weight, the value that is being derived, it will have the same meaning for everyone. It is unlike interval scale, because in case of an interval scale, the meaning which is being attributed to the numbers are being attributed by the researcher for a different researcher, or somebody else can assign some different meaning to the same numbers. For example, if the researcher has assigned a 7-point scale to the 6 candy bars, for him 1 may mean best and 7 may mean worst. Now another researcher can rate the 6 candy bars on a scale of 1 to 5. That means 1 for the researcher will mean best, but 5 means worst. So here the meaning that is being attributed to different numbers vary from researcher to researcher, because the researcher himself has assigned the meaning to it. But this is not the case in case of ratio scale, because in case of ratio scales the meaning will have, the numbers will have an absolute meaning. It will mean the same for everyone. Now let us come to the discussion of today's notes that I have circulated. Let me tell you that scaling technique is basically used to measure the attitudinal disposition of the person towards an object. Now what does attitudinal disposition means? You may have a favorable attitude or an extremely unfavorable attitude towards an object. Say for example, you attend classes. Now, if your attitude towards attending the class is highly favorable, then you will keep on attending. You will have a positive perception regarding the classes. If your attitude towards attending the class is highly unfavorable, then you will start missing out classes. You will get absent from the classes. You will start avoiding the discussions, and you will not listen to the discussions. So for the class, a particular student may have different attitudes, or his attitudinal dispositions may vary. This attitudinal disposition is measured through a technique called scaling technique. So you can understand that scaling is a process of assessing the attitudinal disposition by assigning numbers that would represent the attitudinal continuum of a person and range from highly unfavorable attitude to highly favorable attitude. So basically you can say that scaling is the process of assigning numbers to a particular characteristics of an object, where the characteristics of the object is related to the number. So for example, as I told you that a student may have different attitudes towards the class. So to measure his attitude, probably a scale has been developed where the scale will vary from highly unfavorable attitude to highly favorable attitude. Now, based on this premise that scaling is used to measure the attitudes of the respondents, there are different types of scaling techniques which has been developed. The first scaling technique, if you look at the notes, this is basically paired comparison. Now, what is paired comparison? Now, paired comparison scaling technique is basically a technique where the respondent is asked to compare objects in pairs or compare objects by taking two at a time. So I have to use the board, and I hope that the board is visible. So please, keep on focusing. So say for example, a student has been asked to. I hope it is visible. So these are the four courses. Now, a student is asked to take two courses at a time and select one from the two. So say for example, he select the six combinations could be. Now these are the six combinations. Why six? Because if there are, so let me tell you what it actually means. Say for example, a student of a particular college has been asked to compare two courses at a time from the college. Now these are the four courses available. Let me tell you that this is only an arbitrary example. It has got no connection with the real world. So these are the four courses available. Now he selects two courses at a time. So whenever he selects two courses at a time, the number of combinations comes out to be six. How? Because if there are four courses, then it is four into four minus one divided by two. So that has come out to be six. So similarly, if there are n, uh, you know, n observations which are supposed to be compared, then there will be n into n minus 1 divided by 2. So here basically from each pairs the respondent is asked to select the most favorable pair. So for example in the first case BA BCom he can select any one between the two. So this is called paired comparison. Now this type of scaling has got one disadvantage. Now the disadvantage is that the respondent may get tired and come up with an ill-considered response. So the researcher has to consider that the number of observation does not exceed 5 or 6. That means here there are 4 observations. So does not exceed 5 or 6. If it exceeds 5 or 6, then it would be very difficult for the researcher to control the errors in response. So this is what we understand by paired comparison. The next type of scaling technique is called constant sum scale. Now, constant sum scale is basically a scale which is developed to identify the proportions of different observations, by which if we add the numbers which are being assigned to the different objects, or to the different observations, then the number should come out to be same. Please look at the example that I have given you. In case of constant sum scale, I have given you an exhibit where you will find that it is basically 100 points have to be distributed among four characteristics, which are food quality, atmosphere, service and price, so that when it is added it should come out to be 100. Now this is what constant sum scale is. In case of constant sum scale, the different characteristics of a particular object are being assigned a point by the respondent, but the respondent must make sure that adding all the points which are being attributed must give him a constant sum. This particular sum could either be 10 or 100. Generally it is 10 or 100. One of the most common disadvantage of constant sum scale is that in case of constant sum scale, it is very difficult to get the responses from respondents who are illiterate or does not have that much of has a very poor mathematical aptitude, because the respondent himself has to make sure that by adding all the time the value comes out to be constant. That means it has to be 100 or 10. So in that way he has to distribute the points to the different characteristics of the object. Now it can happen that the respondents also have come up with ill response, because there are too many objects of a particular there are too many characteristics of a particular object. So here also the researcher has to make sure that too many characteristics are not studied at the same point of time. So please study till this point. I will discuss the next two types of scaling technique. But before that, you try to study these two types of scaling techniques and see whether there is any confusion.